First, I'll just take you through how we find the DNA and registrations form, and then I'll take you through the registration itself. So what we do is we come to the website and then we go to member forms and guides, and then we come down here to the DNA and registration forms, and then the registration and DNA form. To download that, we just click on it, and then what we do is open it from here. We open it from here, and it's recommended that you always download a new file just in case you are using an old file with an old format. So it opens up here to the first instructions page. This instructions page has all the information that you need for your to fill out your registration and DNA form on it. And then I've also done an example registration for us here. However, I'll take you through another example registration now. So the first things first, we need to fill in the member ID, the mobile and the email, and then we come to the nitty-gritty of the calf registrations. So I'll register a commercial calf first. So for the register, it's a C for a commercial. Then the dam, if it is on the database, you put in its information. If it's not on the database, you would leave it blank. Then we put in the sire's information, obviously the same. However, being a commercial, one needs to be registered already on the database. So the mating date is a normal date range. So we will just put the 31st to the 12th here. The mating code is paddock, AI non-synchronized and hand mating. And then with the calf ID, you just put the year, letter and the drop number, the same as the name for a commercial. Then you would go through with the date of birth, and then the sex. And the sex is one of the things that you need to make sure it's either male or female, because when they are born, they're male or female. Obviously, you steer them after. So what we'll do here is we'll register a male and its colour. So then you go black, white, leopard, speckle. It's not a twin, so we just leave that blank. And then we just need to provide the NLS details for this. And then because it's a male and I'm registering it slightly afterwards, I've castrated it. So what we would do there is we would come through and castrate it with the castration date there. Because with our breed composition, because the father or the dam and the sire are both on the database, that's just Speckle Park, cross Speckle Park. However, if it's not, you would come here and you would find whatever breed it is, and then you would type, so it's an 8-figure breed code. So what that means is that it would be Speckle Park, cross Speckle Park as the dam, and then the sire is Speckle Park, cross Speckle Park. And then the calf fate, because it was born alive, we're leaving it empty. However, that's aborted and dead. Then the calving ease is obviously one is unassisted through to a caesarean. The management group, if you have a management group, I recommend talking to breed plan before you put something in there. The birth weight needs to be in whole numbers, so it would be, say, 35. But if it's 35.5, then you would go 36. This here is not an ET calf, so you would just leave it as nothing. And then we would come to the DNA section. The DNA section for commercial cows or commercial animals, is optional. So if you wish to DNA test them, you can. So you would come through here and say we'd TSU'd it. So we'd go for a TSU, and then we'd supply the information on the TSU. And then you can choose, depending on which way you want to do it, you can either choose to bundle it or you can seek sire it, which is the seek sire is a low density genomics and a parent verification. And then you can also choose to, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bundle it and then I'm going to test it for pesty. And then if you do have any other sires or dams that it could be, then you would list this as a yes, and then you would write that those sire or dam details in these two sheets just here. And then if you've got any comments, then you would leave your comments there. And so now I'll take you through having a purebred registration. So your purebred registration, it's an R registration. Your dam ID and then your sire ID, same as the mating date. And then the calf ID is exactly the same. However, the name can be whatever you wish to name it. So for these circumstances, we're going to name it Minnie. And W2. So when you're naming your calves as purebreds, they can be named nearly whatever you would like them to within the scope of the rules and regulations. And it's got to be nothing derogatory. So then we could put in the date of birth in here and say it's a female, it's still speckled. And then as a purebred, you don't need to have, if you do not wish to provide, the NLIS and NATE IDs. So that's up to you. The same as the castration date. That's also dependent on what you wish to do. The breed composition, because everything's on the purebred register, it would be Speckle Park cross Speckle Park. There would be no other breeds, so that there's also a non-mandatory field. Your calf fate, again, is obviously aborted, dead or alive, so ours is alive. Same with the calving ease. The management group thing is the same as well, so that would be talking a breed plan, and the contact details for breed plan are on the instruction form as well. And then we would come through and we would put in the birth weight. The ET is this, although this is not an ET calf, you would leave it blank if it was not an ET calf, and you'd say yes if it is an ET calf. And then you would come here, you would give us your recip dam ID. You would also say if the recip dam is on the database or if it isn't on the database. And then if it is on the database, these two next ones are lenient, I guess. You can either provide them or not provide them. So, but if it's not on the database, then we need the year of birth and the recip dam breed. And then for a purebred registration, you would need to, again, give a DNA sample, and the DNA is mandatory. So while the TSU is the preferred thing from Neogen, you can obviously still give any of them, depending on, obviously you're not going to get semen out of a calf that's fairly young. So we'll TSU it again. And then what I recommend here is the standard, the Speckle Park bundle, which the Speckle Park bundle includes your genomics for your single step breed plan. It includes your parent verification, your pole testing, your coat testing, your leptin testing, your tenderness and alleles, as well as your myostatin testing. And then it's up to you if you wish to test it for pestivirus again, and if you then have any other tests that you also wish to test it for, depending on if they're available or if they're not available. So if you wanted, say, a CA test, that obviously it's not in the drop down, but it is available from Neogen, so we would then go through those processes to do that. And the same thing with the optional size and dams. So you would say, yes, I've got some optional size and dams, and then you would list them here, and then you would provide this, and then you would email this spreadsheet to registrations@specklepark.org, and we would fill that out for you, and then you would get your DNA lab acknowledgement form back.